Hello, I'm Miss Bush, the science teacher at Horace Mann Elementary School, and I'm going to read you If You Find a Rock. Quick science safety reminder, all of your science work is on your iPad. If you like the rocks the kids are finding in this book, you can only do rock finding with grown-ups and supervision. It is not your assignment. If You Find a Rock by Peggy Christian. If you find a rock, a nice flat rounded rock that sits just right in the crook of your finger, then you have a skipping rock. You toss it out in the water just so and see it trip across the surface, making a chain of spreading rings. Maybe you find a soft white rock, a rock that feels dusty in your fingers. Then you have a chalk rock, and you use it to make pictures on the pavement. Or you might find a big mossy rock by the side of a long steep trail. Then you have a resting rock, and as you sit down, you feel the cool moss squish beneath you. Then again, you might find a rock with a stripe running all the way around it. Trace the line with your finger. It must circle all the way. You have a wishing rock, and you whisper what you want before you throw it. And everyone, wishing rocks are my favorite. I love those lines in the middle of a rock. I like to imagine, how could that line get there? How could there be a different color rock inside of a rock? And normally lava or a volcano is involved when there's a line like that. If you find a rock, a big rock by the edge of the water, then you have found a splashing rock. When it hits the surface, the water jumps out of the way, raining back down of your outstretched hands. The bigger the rock, the wetter you get. Kaploosh. Maybe you find a pile of small rounded pebbles. Then you have found sifting rocks, and you can scoop up a handful and let them slide slowly through your fingers. Or you might find a rock whose water-smooth surface catches your eye. If it feels easy in your hand when you rub it, then you have found a worry rock. You rub it between your fingers and your troubles are smoothed away. I know I've sometimes held a rock in my hand and it made me feel calm. Then again, you might find a rock sitting in a grassy field. This is a bigger rock. Can you see the picture? Push it over. You have found a hiding rock. And in the cool, dark underside live all kinds of things. It's so cool that creep and crawl and hide out of sight. It can be really, really fun to flip a rock over with a grown-up's help. If you find a rock, a great rock that towers over you, then you have found a climbing rock. Hold on with your toes and fingers. Grip as hard as you stretch up and pull until you reach the top where you feel much grander than you did on the ground. My kids went to Minnehaha Falls this summer and they found climbing rocks there. They loved it there. But I'm going to just keep reminding you, they had adults supervising them. Maybe you will find a twisting line of rocks sticking up out of the creek. Then you have found crossing rocks, which wait to meet your feet as you pass over the water rushing all around you. Have any of you ever done that? A crossing rock? That looks a little worrisome. That water could be cold underneath. Or you might find a rock with a print of something else, a leaf or a shell. Then you have found a fossil rock, and you feel the shape of something that lived long, long ago when the rock was young. Can you see the fossil? Both pictures have fossils. There you go. Check out that little shell. I found fossil rocks in Minnesota, in St. Paul. Then again, you could find a small, rounded rock. I used to do this all the time when I was a kid. It might be right in front of your toe. As you go down the sidewalk, you have found a walking rock and you kick it ahead of you and you let it lead you home. Have you ever kicked a rock and kept track of that same rock for the whole walk home? When I was a kid, I lived on a dirt road and on a big hill, and the school bus would drop me off at the bottom of the hill, and I would walk up the dirt road to where my house was, and I would kick a rock the whole way up. So that I remember doing. If you find a rock that's not a skipping rock or a chalk rock or a resting rock or a wishing rock, that's not a splashing rock or a sifting rock or a worry rock or a hiding rock, that's not even a climbing rock or a crossing rock or a fossil rock or a walking rock, but you like it anyway because it reminds you of a place or a feeling or someone important, then you have found a memory rock. And sometimes those are the best rocks of all. And scientists, those are the best rocks of all because that is your rock special to you. Reading this book, you might have guessed Miss Bush loves rocks, all kinds of rocks. The wishing rocks, the worry rocks, the splashing rocks, and the kicking rocks. And I love the rocks that come from lava and rocks that come from other places. So I hope you liked hearing about these rocks.